We kept hearing the same thing over and over. People want stronger relationships. They want stronger communities. And they want their kids to succeed in sports. But a lot of times, they don't know how to do that. They're not sure how to support their athlete, how to talk to a coach, or even how to step into coaching themselves. And that's when it hit us. What if we helped with all of it? What if what we really do is build communities?
Bright morning sun kicking off the day. Lace up the shoes, we're on our way.
From the youngest athlete all the way up through parents, coaches, and leaders, that's who we're here for. And that's what From the Sidelines is all about. This podcast is a place for honest conversations, real stories, and practical guidance, all centered on helping kids grow through sports. If you're looking for stronger relationships, stronger community, and athletes who grow not just in skill, but in character, you're in the right place.
Learning big dreams to hold. Sweat and smiles worth more than gold. Teamwork growing with every try. Under the same wide open sky. One goal, one team. A place for every dream. Game on, game strong.
Welcome, everyone, to our podcast. This is our first ever. Happy New Year. We are very excited. We hope to tell you about how we started 30 years ago, the problems we faced, how we got to where we are now. And I am joined by our social media person, Aaron Meyer. Welcome, Aaron, to the podcast. We've been talking about this for a long time, January 2026, and we're doing it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. I'm so excited to be here and to help share this story with everybody. I think it's going to be great for people to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. And we've got a guest. And our sponsor I want to mention is CBMS. And they are gladly sponsoring our podcast. And our today's guest is going to be Dan Nietzel. He'll be joining us soon. Aaron, this podcast, we talked about what we want it to be about and what we want people to know about the Youth Sports Foundation. I hope we can give them that in this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit more about what you will get from today. You're going to be able to hear how the Youth Sports Foundation has come together over the years, why it was started. It sparked from a problem, right, Jim? A problem that you saw. And then we're going to get to hear from Dan, since he's one of the very first athletes when it started out and how it's kind of grown and shifted today. So
yeah, it did start from a problem, and I guess we can kind of start there. 30 years ago, we got a brand new football coach for Muscatine. We were struggling at the high school level, and I wanted to start a youth tackle football program in Muscatine. And with the help of Jerry Teal, our new football coach, and Lynn Stiles, we got it going. And it was difficult in the beginning. Could not find sponsors right away when we were talking about it. Didn't know how we were going to get kids registered, but all that happened took place in my garage. And next thing you know, we've got 12 teams at one time in Muscatine. But the beginning was very, I want to say, humbling.
Sure.
But we had the kids that showed up, and the parents said, allowed their kids to play tackle football. And that's kind of what we wanted Dan on today, as being one of those first kids to ever play tackle football in Muscatine. But I feel like we hit the niche we needed to at the time. So very, very humbling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And it has definitely come from a team, and it has become an even bigger team. So just for people to have some background, I'm Aaron Meyer. Jim brought me on as kind of hey, I need somebody to do social media, and I'd really love to do a podcast too. And so the vision for this is to help other communities, families, athletes, really just help connect all those pieces, because the values and the foundation of YSF has been built on these three things of fun, fundamentals, and opportunity. So I really hope you hear that through our conversation, and especially as we bring on Dan. I think that is just going to shine for people. So excited for that.
Aaron, and we hope to have a guest every week on this podcast. This week it's Dan. Next week it may be, who knows? I mean, eventually I hope to have Kurt Ferentz, who was a big supporter of YSF in the beginning and still is, to come on and to get his thoughts about the Youth Sports Foundation and youth football in general. for the communities. We've grown so large right now in the Midwest. We've got a lot of stories out there, a lot. And hopefully we can bring those stories through this podcast, whether it be maybe getting George Kittle, one of our YSF guys who played a long time ago in the Iowa City YSF program, to come on and talk about his years in YSF. But excited, very excited to do this podcast. It's going to go just fantastic.
One of the things I loved about coming on to the team here at the Youth Sports Foundation is that it really sees the gold in every person, and it helps connect them to their bigger purpose, which I think is ultimately serving the community by serving one kid at a time. So I'm looking forward to bringing my background knowledge as a teacher. I came out of the education world. It was about 10 years I did that, K-12. And so I've got that lens to bring to the conversation. And I'm also a new mom. I really don't have a whole lot of experience with sports. So I did soccer in elementary school. I did rugby. So I think maybe Dan and I have this in common. I'll have to ask him. I did rugby for like 6 weeks in high school. It was like, let's get girls to do rugby. And I'm like, that sounds interesting, you know? And I love Youth Sports Foundation because it does exactly what that opportunity provided me. It was like, hey, nobody knows how to do this. We're all brand new at this, and let's learn together. I think it was Pearl City Rugby, and they brought on that professional team, and we're coaching. So that's a big part of YSF. So
That's awesome. That's great. I didn't
yeah.
know you were a rugby player. We'd like to welcome in to the podcast Dan Nietzel. Dan, welcome to our first ever podcast, and we hope to keep this going, weekly. Welcome. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Week one guest. That's a big deal.
Week one guest.
So,
It doesn't
trying
get
to
any
live
better
up
than
to it.
that. So
Appreciate that.
we were talking before you got on about how we started in 96 with a group of 3 teams. And you were one of those kids, one of those 6th graders who decided, hey, yeah, you know what, I want to try this tackle football program. And what I have said to Aaron off camera is, these kids really are cemented in history when it comes to Youth Sports Foundation Pee Wee football, because you guys were the first ones. Kind of like that astronaut getting on the moon. You guys are the first ones to put on the uniform, and we had tackle football. What was it like when you found out? I know it's a long time ago. When you found out that we were going to have tackle football in Muscatine.
Man, it was a while ago, but I do remember. I remember the excitement, and there was a buzz because we were 5th grade at what was Hayes School at the time, now St. Mary's Matthias, and when word came down that there was going to be a transition from, at the time there was only flag football offered, and that we were going to make that move to the 5th and 6th grade tackle football, everyone was going to sign up. Every boy that was in my grade was so fired up. And then, I remember when the teams came out, you're all in this, classroom of 27 kids, but, we had members from the Mustangs. We had M Ford Mustangs, coached by Gary Edwards. They were the bad boys.
Yeah.
We were the River Pirates, McKee
Yep.
Button River Pirates, and so it was cool because it was really one of the first times where there's a little bit of division, competitive division within our class, and I remember wearing like our jerseys to school on game day, and
Nice.
just a lot of excitement. It was really cool.
Can I jump in here real quick just to give background to people, since I'm the newbie here? So I know people are, what are you talking about? What are these? Well, so my understanding is, Jim, when you first started this, you got local businesses to sponsor different teams. So Dan's talking about, hey, I was on the River Pirates.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of started, but it didn't stay there.
It did. Yeah, it did start. We went out and got 3 sponsors, and Ford, the Krieger boys were very much adamant about having a team, and they had the Ford store in town, so they were Mustangs. Makes sense, right? McKee Button, Teddy McKee,
Coach
loved
Teddy.
football. Teddy was not able to play sports due to his physical condition, but loved football and helped coach. And the McKee River Pirates. And then we had the Martin and Whitaker. The Martin and Whitaker they were huge sports nuts, always sponsoring baseball teams and stuff. They wanted a team, big Steeler fans, Martin and Whitaker Steelers. Those were our first 3 teams. Dan played for the River Pirates.
I got a
And it
surprise
did-
for you. Hold on.
Okay, he's got a surprise for us. I can't
Nice.
wait to see that. This will be great. But yeah, so those 3 teams were our first teams ever in Muscatine. So, and those sponsors, thank God we had them. They really helped. Thank
Oh,
gosh.
man. Ah, I was gonna ask you a question. He's wearing his jersey. How does that still fit? That's amazing.
It's a little tight, but
Red, number 31, key button on the back.
Dan,
That's
that needs
awesome.
to be in the YSF Hall of Fame.
well, what I would say is, all kidding aside, if it shows how much the program meant, especially being kind of that charter, part of that charter crew, I still have this in my closet.
Wow.
I've moved countless times. This thing comes with me. I've let my sons wear it a few times, but this thing means a lot to me.
That is awesome. That it couldn't have gotten any better than this. It just made the podcast.
That's
Let me
awesome.
tell you, that did. I mean, that is awesome, Dan. That is unbelievable. I have a question for you. Okay, so and maybe you don't know this answer, but your mom and dad comes down. We're going to do tackle football. Here's their only son available at the time, age-wise, to play tackle football, 6th grader. Any hesitation? Not, I know, not from your dad. Mom, maybe. I mean, was there ever a chance that Dan Nietzel was going to play tackle football in 6th grade?
No, no, I would say no. I mean, mothers are always, they have that concern of, they don't want to see their child get hurt. But also, we played all these different sports. I broke my wrist trying to bunt in baseball. You slap your head off the wood or the wood court in basketball. I mean, soccer, countless injuries through that. So I mean, I think she just knew, like, if it was something we wanted to do, it was, injuries are always a potential, but she, it wasn't like, oh, not football. You can do all these other things, but not football. That was never a conversation.
So you get your equipment, which was probably exciting to get.
Very exciting.
You came to my house and got it out of my garage because I had it all there.
That's right.
You go to practice. You got a guy that knows exactly what he's doing because he really should have been coaching at the higher level, but decided to do the Pee Wee level. Oh, wait, that was me. I was your
At Notre
coach.
Dame, you mean? Yeah. Should have
Yeah,
been
that's
coaching at
right.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
What was it like the first time you put the equipment on? You go to football practice. Do you remember that feeling?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I remember all the pads were new. You know what I mean? Like, we were literally cutting the tags off of them.
Yeah.
So they were clean. Of course, the first thing, you get the pads before, it's not right before the game, right? It's probably a week or two before the game. So the first thing you do, you get home, you're stuffing the pads into your pants. Your dad's teaching you how to loop the belt through the hip pads and stuff. I'm sure they have, much better technology now, but I mean, that was, as soon as we got home, it was put the shoulder pads on, put the helmet on. We didn't have jerseys. I think we got them like game week, so I couldn't complete the outfit. Yeah, I do remember that, the excitement of bringing the pads home and, wanting to show my dad. You go outside, you show your neighbors, like, look at me, I'm going to be a muskie someday. This is step one. It was, yeah, it was pretty cool.
So then let's take you to your first game because we scheduled games, and I know this by looking at when we have one of our old programs, Dan. It was a Wednesday night under the lights. You're playing Moline. Moline is this, and I'm sure I told you guys, hey, Moline's coming down to play us. They've had a program for years. You're a 6th grader, but this is your first time in tackle. I
Mhm.
think we held with them pretty well, but how was that? I mean, the game's starting. You're going to hit against new kids you've never seen. Take
I
us
actually
through that.
remember it. I remember it really well. And I remember a couple things really well. First of all, I remember Teddy on the sideline. The lights are on. There's kind of a buzz in the air. It was pretty warm out, but with it, being at night, that helped. I remember one thing very vividly. The high school team was practicing behind the field. They were finishing up practice. And Jerry Teal, who I've always given credit to kind of being the savior of, Muskie football, dedicated his life to getting that program turned around. That was always the goal. It was a unified goal to become a Muskie someday. So it was kind of cool to be like, we're getting ready to run out on the field. And like the varsity players were kind of walking past intrigued, like, oh, this is the new program. And I remember Jerry, he didn't miss a beat. He went right from practice to leaning up against the fence, and he just watched, in his mind what this new feeder program was going to be. So I remember that, and I remember thinking, oh man, Coach Teal is watching us. Like, we got to perform. We got to play hard. And I also remember my brothers were officiating. So Ben and Joe were officiating. And I was playing wing at the time. And the first play, not first play of the game, my first play call, I was pretty fast. I catch an inside handoff. I cut outside the tackle, and I'm going outright. So like towards kind of where the cemetery is. I'm on the right side of the field. And it was almost surreal. Like it was the first time in my life where time slowed down. And it was like you could hear kind of the crowd. I mean, it wasn't a huge crowd, but people got excited. I had broken free, and it was kind of like this holy crap moment. Like I thought this was going to be harder. Like, where is everybody? And I'm running down the sideline. It's true story. Running down the sideline, and my brother Joe is, he's got his official shirt on. He's running next to me. He's like, "Go, Danny, go!" Kind of under his breath. And I'm just running. I'm running, and I had I freaked out and I fell. Nobody touched me. I fell like on the 5-yard line because I panicked and I didn't know what to do. And that has always stuck with me. But just the image of my brother running alongside of me under his breath going, "Go, Danny, go, Danny." And then just out of nowhere, I just ran out of steam and just fell
That's
over on the 5-yard.
I think I pulled you then and said, "Hey, we got to get somebody that can at least score a touchdown." I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that is an awesome story. Then it, of course, led you into junior high, and then it took you on to high school. But I'm just going to let our listeners know that you were an extremely talented high school football player. In fact, I'd say you were probably one of the best kids to ever go through high school at our high school and play football. And Chuck Van Heck, who was an AD, has talked about that before. We mentioned guys, Bobby Wolf, Dan Nietzel, heck, Ben Nietzel. I mean, there's guys that just stick out. Ferrer boys,
Yeah.
Barkema. We had some talented guys. You were a great football player. How much do you think, and you only had 1 year, do you think youth football helped you in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the philosophy of kind of like the push for kindergarten, right? How they almost want every child to go through preschool and kindergarten because preschool, the push for preschool. Any leg up you can get before, the games really start mattering is huge. And I think that year head start, had we had to wait until 7th grade, in the past, that's when you first could play football, was middle school football. We already had all of the, here's how you tackle, here's how you don't tackle, here's what a game is like, going through the rules, things like that. If we were just coming in day one on the first day of school, in 7th grade, having to learn all that, it made up for a lot of kind of cutting away some of the basic stuff. So I would say it was a huge support. And honestly, I think there's a direct correlation. I mean, look at when the Muskies started getting good, right? So we had that 97 season, you know, um, each kid and those guys, that crew will be forever in history. But it wasn't like that lasted, right? But when this U Sports crew started to make its way through the system, then get to high school, now we're playing a Halloween night in the bowl down in
In
Burlington,
Burlington,
winning
yeah.
a playoff game. And then you got Wellesley and those guys taking us to the Dome. All those guys are a product of that system. That never happened before U Sports. So I think there's a direct correlation as we started to, matriculate through the pipeline. That's when Muskie football started getting good.
What values did you learn, not football, but just life values in youth football or in football itself?
Football is the greatest team sport. I don't care what anybody says. And you know me, I know a lot. I play a lot of different sports. I like a lot of different sports, but I still have dreams about high school football in general. And, I think U Sports was a catalyst for some of those great memories. And I learned early on about leadership. I wanted to be a captain. That was always a goal of mine. I wanted to be a captain of the River Pirates. I wanted to be a captain for Central Middle School. I wanted to be a captain for the Muskies. Again, in a super safe environment where you've got, my uncles were coaches, you, John, Uncle
Joe.
Joe, Coach Teddy. It was just a very safe environment to kind of test out those leadership skills where the pressure wasn't super high. You had a lot of encouraging parents and things like that. So for me, the biggest thing I would say was it really started to foster my leadership skills and that desire to work hard. And the harder you work, it is kind of a meritocracy. What you put into it is what we got out of it. And we started to learn that early on. I don't think, at least that first year, M&M Ford, like the Mustangs were the best team. They had the most talent, hands down. But we hung with them, and
Right.
and I think because we were hard workers and that was kind of pushed on us. So those would be a few things that stand out to me.
I love how much of YSF is a community builder, and I love hearing your thoughts about that because I definitely I don't bring the sports team lens. I don't. I bring the educational, like, teacher background lens. So I'm like hearing you say the things about, my mom, she never said like you can't do tackle. And I'm like, okay, Jim Miller, I hear you with the like, yeah, your son's gonna do tackle. He's 4 months old right now. So let's just calm down. Okay. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how to be a mom. So I guess I would ask you, Dan, what was it like to see your mom getting involved? Maybe she's cheering on the sidelines. I don't know what that looked like. What advice would you give?
I mean, one thing that I've really tried to, kind of mimic, I would say, from the fans and the parents back then, I get really disturbed with fan behavior nowadays, especially at youth sports. Back then, it felt different. And again, I know a lot of people back in my day, this is how it was and everything's crap nowadays. But truly, Aaron, you mentioned community. And one thing that I would say that was so magical about that time was the community really did rally. There were a lot of volunteers, chain gangs, things like that. But the fans got super excited because they could see how excited we were. And I would say, too, to illustrate that point, we were in the newspaper. Like, they would put our scores in the newspaper. The sports section would come and take pictures. We got to be in the sports section. Like, we felt like we were, NFL players, and the community really kind of wrapped their arms around that. And I feel like sometimes that's missing now when I go to youth sports games and everyone's chewing out the ref and everyone thinks their kid is, going to be the next superstar NFL player. And it's a lot of people rooting for like just their person and not the team.
Mm.
And I remember that very vividly. It was like everybody just wanted everyone to play well, and they were just excited that there was football out there for 5th and 6th graders. And so I think kind of keeping that perspective, I would say, is one takeaway. Parents played a role in that, but there were a lot of other people that played a role in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
I agree, Dan. I'm glad you brought that up because it does feel like when it started, people wanted to be involved with it. I mean, it was like, hey, I'll do the chain gang. Roger Bates at the time, we had a local newspaper, was like, I'll come out and take pictures. We'll put an article in. We'll post the game results. We'll let people know when the next game is. And we did have people that came out to watch to see what it was all about. And it was a community thing. And
We had
yeah,
people announcing the game.
yeah,
Like,
we
it
even,
was like
yeah,
a high school
exactly.
game,
Yeah,
like over the
yeah.
loudspeaker. It was like Nietzel for a run for 35 yards, tackled by Krieger or whatever. Like, it was pretty cool.
Well, the superintendent came to us and said, you will play on our high school field, which it was like, okay, that's what we wanted. We didn't even have to ask. I mean, Tom Williams was like, you will be playing the games on the high school field. Great. And to have, like you said, Jerry there, Jerry was huge in supporting it. He talked about it at quarterback clubs. He talked about it just in just around town about how, the youth program is going to help build. He had a vision of where that high school football team was going. And we needed the foundation of a youth football program. And by golly, he was going to support it. And he did. And like I said, and that's what I said in the beginning, you guys are forever cemented in the start of youth football in Muscatine. You know what? We've got your picture in our lobby, the first 3 teams. We brag about it all the time. Here are the kids that started Youth Sports Foundation. Dan Nietzel started Youth Sports Foundation. And then because Dan helped start Youth Sports Foundation by participating, who followed him? George Kittle followed you. Weegan followed you. I mean, you think about this, but it's true. You guys helped start youth sports. So all these kids have followed in your footsteps that are playing NFL now,
I see what you're saying because I forget that you guys are bigger than Muscatine. I forget
Yeah.
that. Now I thought you were making a joke, but now I get it. Like, so all these kids, I didn't realize some of those names went through the youth sports program. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we've got a whole list.
So we're now at 138 communities and growing. And that's not just tackle football. Dan, you mentioned that they had flag. We're always trying to grow even more. We got volleyball, wrestling, badminton. We have pickleball now. Yep, we got track and field. Am I missing anything, Jim?
No, I mean, we do the sports camps and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's 7-on-7. But yeah, you guys helped start where we're at today 30 years ago. And I appreciate that. I thank your parents, all the parents who, number one, signed their kids up, allowed them, trusted the coaches, trusted in the system, and the kids that said, hey, we want to try this. We want to do it. Because it could have been really scary. Nobody knew about it. And
I think one thing that's important to point out because again, thinking about structures and everything. I mean, I see you sitting in your office there at, U Sports headquarters, but you're absolutely right. Like, you weren't even a full-time, like, U Sports guy at the time. I don't
No, I
believe.
was not.
Weren't you were still working at Power and Water, and
I
a
was.
lot of these guys were doing this on their free time, which, they could have been off relaxing, doing whatever they wanted,
Yeah.
but you guys believed in something so strongly. And I think, as with anything, it's like first impressions are the most important, right? You guys had to nail that first season. If it had been a crappy setup, it was a train wreck, it was disorganized. Now you've kind of shot that bullet, and it's going to be hard to get another shot because, parents put a lot of trust in a bunch of volunteers and, came away and turned into something extremely special. But it was, that was, you're right. The more I think about it, that first season needed to go well because
It
it was
did.
probably on pretty unstable ground had it not.
It goes bad. We get kids crying. We get parents yelling at each other. And we just said, hey, guess what? We tried it. Not going to happen. We'll never see this again.
Right.
So that second year we had Rockridge and L&M come to us and say, hey, help start it for us. And then eventually just kind of grew. And here we are today. So
Let me ask you a quick question because I'm curious what the motivation was now that we're on this topic. You didn't have boys that age.
no, I did not.
What motivated you to spearhead this effort
Well, I was
you know-
coaching football at the high school level at the time, and it was awful. We just didn't have the structure we needed. Jerry was coming in. Before he got hired, I told myself, we got to get Pee Wee's football started. And Lynn used to work out at the Y, and I was telling Lynn about it, and we were determined we're going to do this. Jerry gets hired. We meet with him. He's like, 100% we need it. He's like, whatever I can do. I tried to raise money for it, couldn't. Lynn's like, I'll buy the first 3 teams worth of equipment. 75 kids is what we took. But it was a thought of, I was tired of high school football being so bad. And we needed structure to help build it and make it better.
I love
That
that.
was my Yanks. I love being a volunteer coach. Coached Little League. I coached high school football, like I said, for many years, junior high before that. And it was like, we got to do something. And that's what we did. And here I am today and love it. So, and we got you to thank for us being here today, 30 years later. So,
30 years.
no, seriously.
That's
so,
pretty amazing.
Wow. What a great first podcast, huh, Aaron? I mean,
Yeah.
Dan, I can't
absolutely.
thank you enough for coming on. And I know you've got boys of your own, and they're all in sports. And I know you guys are a big hockey and soccer family. Any of
They're
them going to
starting to
do?
get into football. It said they're starting to get into football now. The tentacles have started to sink in. Yeah, we'll see how things go. But
Do you think we'll see?
we've been prepping Mom. We've been working on her. I think we slowly have massaged her into at least letting Augie be a kicker.
I'm going to put it out there. Do you think we'll see a Nietzel boy play YSF football in Dubuque, Wahlert?
I believe you will. I think
Okay.
Rocco is the one.
No
Okay.
pressure on the
No
podcast.
pressure. We're not going to hold you to this. But
I think you'll see a Nietzel boy playing U Sports football in Dubuque, and I think you'll see maybe 1 or 2 playing for the Wahlert Golden Eagles high school team as well.
that's awesome. I can't wait to follow him. So thank you so much, Dan. With that, I guess we will say goodbye to our first podcast. But we thank you so much, Dan, for joining us. I mean, we couldn't have
Yeah.
had a better guest.
Thank you
and
so
The
much.
jersey just, wow, blew it out of the water. So that is awesome.
It is
That is awesome. That's
31.
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate it. It
We're
was an
good.
honor.
F Hall of Fame, and it'll be in it. Trust me.
There you go.
You have to pry it from my cold dead hands. This baby's
There you
going
go.
in the closet.
We'll put it on your statue that's there.
Yeah, okay.
All
All right,
right.
guys,
Well,
you
we
take care.
appreciate
Thanks,
it. And
Dan.
Aaron, if people want to contact us and give us questions and stuff, you want to tell them how they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you follow us on Facebook, we're the Youth Sports Foundation on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll also be putting this podcast on YouTube. So more information's coming out there. I'll be sending out a link so that listeners you can share stories, you can ask questions, and we hope to have as many of those on the podcast as we can.
So thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Dan, thank you again. Aaron, thank you. And we hope to see everybody next time.
Thanks, guys.